Welcome to your Veterans Resource Podcast, Return to Roots. This podcast is for service members and their family members regarding retention, transition, and reintegration from active duty to veterans in the community. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Elder, an active duty senior chief in the United States Navy, and my partner in crime / host is Yogi Hernandez, who's an active duty chief in the Navy. Together, we are documenting our experiences as we prepare to transition and reintegrate into the community. Every podcast will have actionable content that will benefit American service members and their families, as well as those who have already transitioned and reintegrated. We got some exciting news. My Transition Timeline 365 is now on the Android and Apple App Store. Go on there, download it, track your transition timeline, find Return to Roots Mill to Vet inside of the app where you can find new updated episodes and get the most up-to-date information on your transition, because your transition and reintegration into the community is priority. Enjoy the app and enjoy this show. This material is intended for a mature audience. If you have little ears within earshot, please make sure that you listen to it before you allow them to listen. We encourage people to utilize Courage to Call 211 if you have any suicidal ideations, or if you just need somebody to talk to. 211 is a great resource. In today's episode of Return to Roots Mill to Vet, we are honored to have Dave Ortolf, a Marine veteran and also representative of Patriots and Paws. They have some great resources for military, veterans, and family members. That's a perfect way to start it right there.
That's Charley, and Charley has perfect timing. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17 in 1979. My father had been a Marine, and my father took his own life. And the only reason I share that, and his suicide wasn't related to his service, but I share that because that's, in my opinion, one of the greatest tragedies in this country at this time is 19 veterans a day on average taking their lives. And I think that's awful that we have lost, and we continue to lose more vets to suicide than we lost to the enemy in the wars. So a lot of years in the 90s and the aughts that nobody seemed to give a shit if you were a veteran. And then all of a sudden, a few years ago, this "thank you for the service" mantra kind of became fashionable. And every time I hear that, my first thought is, where was my thank you in 1979? So as I get older, I felt a need and a desire to give back somehow. And though I've had my share of hardship, I still have more than my share of blessings. So my focus for almost 5 years now has been trying to help veterans in some way. And I've been doing that primarily as a board member and secretary for Patriots and Paws, veteran service nonprofit in Anaheim, California, and also joined the American Legion and getting involved with administration of the Newport Harbor Post 291, which is one of the largest posts in the world.
Wow.
You said that you were part of the Marine Reserve for 7 years, you said? How was
Six.
For 6 years. So how was it being part of the Marine Reserve? And you said in the 70s, right?
79 to 85. And that was the peak of the Cold War, Reagan just coming in. And that's when people knew Russia was the enemy and didn't play these stupid games like we have today, with people pretending that Russia is somehow our friend. I was cold weather infantry, India Company, 3rd Battalion, 25th Marines. I was a rifleman, 0311, as basic as it gets in the Marine Corps. We trained, and we trained hard. We went to the coldest places at the coldest time of year. And during the 6 years I was with my company, my unit went to Alaska, Minnesota, Canada, Norway, Denmark, and Germany, all in the wintertime. And there's kind of a pattern there. Aside from being very cold, it's also Northern Europe, which is where we expected to meet the Russians. They were still the Soviets at that time. So the Cold War was very real to me, and it was cold weather infantry sucks. I talked to a lot of guys that it's all in the last 20 years been desert the desert climate. And I don't know if one's better or one's worse, but it's no fun and it's a lot of hard work, not to mention the danger. But I was in between wars, so I was never deployed. But what I recently learned was that in 2005, my old unit, 3rd Battalion, 25th Marines, took the highest casualty rate of any combat unit in Iraq or Afghanistan. So I was 20 years ahead. My timing had been off by 20 years. I would have been right there in the middle of it.
The different situations as far as like environmental, desert and snow, a lot of people didn't realize that it snows in some of the parts that we were at in Afghanistan. You're like, okay, I'm going to go to the desert, and then you find yourself unprepared in a snow environment. It's bad. It's bad there.
Oh yeah, even the nighttime temperatures in the desert without the elevation is still. I mean, I've been in the deserts here locally in Southern California. I got up in the morning and my dog's water bowl had frozen over, and so it's you're right about that. It can be miserable in both extremes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about Patriots?
So Patriots, Patriots, and PAWS.org. And that is a nonprofit started in 2011 by Penny Lambright. And Penny she's the daughter of a career Marine. She was trained to be a drill sergeant, and that's kind of how she comes off. But she had a need. She had a nephew who was just getting out of the Marine Corps and needed to furnish an apartment, didn't have anything. So she made it her mission to fill that need for him. And then she began Patriots and Paws and has continued to fill that need for many veterans and service members. So she's not, anyone who has served honorably can be helped by Patriots and Paws. All we ask for, did you serve or are you serving? What we do is we provide household furnishings. And you can see photographs of the warehouse if you go to the website, but it's like a giant Goodwill store where the property is gently used, but anything that you might need to furnish a home, be it a couch, a table and chair set, a desk, bedding, dishes, anything you can think of. And I don't know, you guys in the Navy, you get moved frequently, right? And so you become professional movers in terms of packing and unpacking and all that stuff. But I'm sure it's pretty depressing to get a new apartment and to walk in and there's not a stick of furniture, and it costs money to furnish for sure, even if you're not buying brand new stuff. But we do a good job of helping. And again, it doesn't matter whether it was active duty, reserve, guard, or currently serving. We have a relationship with Camp Pendleton where we typically deliver a load of furniture once a month. And then we also have recently developed a relationship with Fort Irwin, which is up in the Mojave Desert, 3 hours north of LA, past Barstow. And we deliver furniture to them. And it's especially the lower grades, the enlisted guys who are dirt poor in some cases, and some with families, and they can really need the help, and they really do need the help, and we're really, really happy to be able to provide it.
I can tell you from experience that I have personally been through that scenario. I wasn't planning on coming here. Me and my wife were in Japan. We were going to stay in Japan and retire in Japan. And then, for different things, we came over to San Diego, and our household goods were in transit for about 7 to 8 months.
So a slow boat from Japan.
Exactly. So that, at the fund there, we're living in limbo. We don't want to spend any money. But just like you said, I mean, it's pretty depressing when all you have in your house is an air mattress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then as we all know, an air mattress is only good for maybe the first 2 weeks. And then after that, everything hurts, everything. So, I mean, it's very honorable what you guys are doing.
Thanks. And when I first moved to California, I was young and single, and I slept in a inflatable raft for a couple of months actually, but it was better than nothing. I wanted to mention the pause aspect of Patriots and Paws. It's the part of the mission that we've had the greatest challenge in terms of tackling. And the end goal is to be able to provide kennel care and board for service members' pets while they're deployed or for some reason they can't take care of their pet. So Penny, in addition to being passionate about helping veterans with Patriots and Paws, she's also a passionate animal lover, dog lover. She's trying to get a kennel facility that can be used to assist not only veterans and service members, but also homeless people or people who simply don't have the means and need temporary care for their pet. That's the next big goal that we're hoping to tackle in 2023.
That would be instrumental for a lot of people who don't have that temporary care and have a pet, that need to, put that right step forward and find that job where they can't just leave their animal wherever
Right.
they're at, because
Right.
maybe they're transitioning in their vehicle and they have an animal and they're limited by what they could do because of that. So that would
Right.
be an amazing feat.
Yeah, especially with the homeless population. I was just thinking yesterday, if I was homeless, I would have a dog. And I know that it's another mouth to feed, but what it provides in terms of companionship, security, I don't think can be beat. However, I know there's a lot of homeless people with pets who can't go to the shelter overnight or can't even go into the cafeteria to eat because the animals aren't allowed and they don't have any place safe where they can leave their animal while they're receiving services. So it's a need that we're trying to identify and work with other institutions such as the VA to see if there's really a need, enough of a need that could justify a full-blown kennel operation and keep it going, because it's an expensive proposition. The overhead on the facility and payroll and stock and everything else, food, it'd be a significant investment, but we're working towards it.
I was also looking at your stuff as well. You guys offer training possibilities, assistance with getting training for your animals as well. Do you have like a special service dog, like PTSD or something like that?
Yeah, well, that's right. And that's part of the mission, is to connect veterans with service animals. And we work with a couple of organizations, other nonprofits. One is called WAGS, WAGS. They're in Westminster, California, here in Orange County, and I forget their name, but they're basically a rescue shelter. We lots of times will refer veterans to them. And there's another nonprofit in Fontana, California, called, it's Working Dogs for Warriors. They're another nonprofit, and they are exclusively focused on training service dogs. Yeah, there's other nonprofits in the space that we're networking with and attempting to synergize with, rather than duplicating each other's efforts unnecessarily.
What's your demographics that you guys serve? I understand veterans and active duty,
Yeah,
but what locations?
we were talking to the Los Angeles County Department of Veterans Affairs, and they have a very large program for Los Angeles County, and they call it, well, they're headquartered out of the Bob Hope Patriotic Center, which is in LA, and that's an incredible place. If you ever get to go there, it's quite a museum, and there's a lot of memorabilia. She was asked, how many have you helped? We've served 9 counties in California, and out of 5,954 veterans that we've assisted, 3,314 were LA County residents. We have a truck that picks up furniture, and then as far as providing the goods to the veterans, they have to come pick it up. And that's kind of a sticking point in the process. And that would be our next big step, would be able to provide some type of delivery service so that the veterans don't have to find their own vehicle to pick up the furniture. As you would imagine, what I'd call a lower socioeconomic demographic, and I don't know if I can give you really anything more specific than that, but a lot of people are down on their luck and can use a helping hand. And if you go to the website, you can see a lot of video testimonials of veterans that we've been able to help.
If I'm a veteran, what do I need to receive help from you guys? Let's say I need
Yeah,
some furniture
and
I'm
that's
moving to LA.
yeah, that's one of the best things about Patriots and Paws is an absence of red tape. So being a nonprofit, we don't have the government bureaucracy. We're a very lean organization. And the only thing we ask to see is a DD 214. So we want to know, served honorably, when or where or how, other than honorably, doesn't matter. So it's a very simple process. Typically, what we do is we ask veterans to send us a list of the items that they're in need of, and then we can respond. And yes, if we have what you need, we actually make an appointment so that we can have someone escort them through the warehouse to find exactly what it is they need and get it loaded up and get them on their way.
Patriots Pause. Let's say I have donations, right? Let's say I use you guys and you guys help me through my transitional period of waiting for my shipment for 6 months. And I had the stuff. Would I be able to donate it back to you guys to be able to
Yeah.
reuse it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Actually, one of our greatest challenges is on the donation side. We're backed up. We're scheduling pickups 2, sometimes 3 months into the future. So if we had a bigger warehouse or another warehouse and another truck, we could bring in more donations. The bottleneck is the warehouse, getting the donations into the warehouse and then out to someone who needs them. So yes, we're always looking for gently used items, and sometimes people try to use us as their junk haul away service. And if it isn't something you would want in your home, then we ask that you don't donate it to us.
To those people that use you guys as a junk service, that's it. If it's junk, toss it out. Don't give it
Yeah,
to a donation site. And this could go from anywhere. Like if you're donating it, like ask yourself, would you use it again?
right. Right. And so that is a constant issue. And we actually have a relationship on our board is a gentleman who owns a business called Junk Luggers, Luggers. And so there's good synergy. If it's something that Patriots and Paws doesn't want, his business is actually hauling away junk. So he gets a lot of referrals from us. And vice versa. He comes in his business. People will be throwing stuff away that is perfectly usable, and he'll ask them, "Hey, do you mind if we donate this to Patriots and Paws?" So that's another good source of donations for us. We do a couple of events every year. We have an annual car show in every October. And we have an annual, the golf tournament is in May. They're both fundraisers, and but they promote the brand and awareness of Patriots and Paws. And I can tell you that the organization has a great reputation in Orange County among the veterans nonprofit community. Penny, the CEO, knows everyone who is anyone in Orange County related to veterans. So it's enjoyable and satisfying for me to know that I'm working with an organ, and I didn't know this when I signed up to volunteer with Patriots and Paws, but it has a great reputation. It has the highest ratings in terms of the people who do evaluations of charities and how much of their money is actually going to the mission that they say they're here for. So we get great marks as far as the efficiency and the efficacy of our organization.
It sounds like you guys need help with trucks and warehouses.
Well, the next big step, as I mentioned, delivery would be on the wish list, the number one topic on the wish list would be able to deliver. However, there's a lot, by profession, I'm an insurance broker. And when it comes to delivering furniture, there's just all kinds of liability issues. But in any case, aside from that, we're pretty much operating at capacity. And like you said, Chris, we would need more warehouses or additional warehouses and additional people and trucks in order to grow the operation. We are considering expanding into other cities. And I know that one city that has been discussed is Las Vegas. Of course, in California, you know, everywhere you turn, there's a military installation.
Facts.
Yeah, so there's no shortage of veterans and service members in need and that need isn't going to go away. That's for sure.
Also, I was interested and curious to hear about your volunteers and how can someone help with your mission?
We got a lot of volunteer opportunities, and primarily it's physical work, things like helping around the warehouse, helping loading and unloading, or special events like the car show or the golf tournament. We have different needs for different sorts of help. We do get a lot of referrals from the courts, the Orange County courts. A lot of people have to do community service as part of their sentence. So they're always sending us volunteers, voluntold, right? In the military.
Volunteers, correct.
That's pretty much the extent of what anyone would be doing. We're happy to have any volunteer help that we can. What our other greatest challenge is cold hard cash. Like I mentioned, we're blessed with an abundance of donations in terms of furniture and housewares, but cash flow is always the challenge. I think that's true for any nonprofit.
Have helped approximately 90,000 service members. Is that correct?
Penny tracks the numbers. Like if you're on the website here, it says 2022, 1,525 veterans active duty and reservists assisted. So she tracks all those numbers in terms of some demographics. So when we're applying for grants or reporting to anyone who cares to know who we're helping and how many and the impact we're having. So we are very proud that there's a lot of people that have been helped. And yes, those numbers are very accurate, and we pay a lot of attention to tracking the numbers.
The whole entire Patriots and Paws, you guys are doing that. So then you also volunteer with the Legion as well, right?
Yeah, I finally feel now I'm in my 60s. I'm old enough to hang out with the guys at the post. The American Legion is the largest veteran service organization in the country and the oldest. They're over 100 years old. Something like 5 former presidents have been Legionnaires. So it's an organization with quite a history. And the Post 291 Newport Harbor that I belong to has a veteran services officer. So the Post donates money to individual veterans in need for, I mean, the gentleman who fills the position is actually a retired social worker. So he's using those skills in terms of trying to help veterans. I mean, it might be something from temporary housing to getting a car repaired. And every month we get a report of how much we spent and what it was spent on. And a lot of people probably don't realize that, or I should say a lot of veterans don't realize that there are many organizations out there, and that sometimes the greatest challenge is simply spreading the word and letting everyone know that there's help available. Another thing that breaks my heart is homeless veterans. I mean, homelessness is an incredibly complex and difficult problem. but a homeless veteran especially makes me sad because someone who's volunteered to serve their country at great cost should never want for a roof over their head.
We've mentioned this before, and it's, to add to the urgency of the crisis, the last VA report that was on in 2022, the percentage is 6%, correct, Chris?
Yeah, 6% of
veterans
homeless.
that are homeless across the United States. And to put into retrospect, only 0.6% of the American population serves in the military. So the disparity of that with the ratio of homelessness is just ridiculous. And that's also part of the reason why we're doing this, because our mission is to eliminate the suicides, eliminate the homelessness, and prevent the incarceration of service members. So our values are just in line with everything that you guys are doing with, and we love that, and thank you so much.
Are you gentlemen going to remain in the San Diego area?
So right now, I am going through the med board process, and I'm gonna be here for sure, at least for the next year. After that, I might stay here in this area to go to school for the next 3 to 5 years. And then after that, I don't know. Maybe go back to Japan because we have a house in Japan. So that's kind of still up in the air. But for the time being, yes. Short answer is yes, I plan on being here for a little while.
And is your goal a nonprofit that provides a specific service?
So right now, our goal is to start off and share the resources available to everyone, since we're still active duty. So we're trying to learn, and every time that we have an interview, we both learn about a new program, a new offering, right? And what we want to do is partner up with the things that are already there right now and make them better. Have you heard of the San Diego Veterans Coalition?
We have one in Orange County. Yes, I'm familiar with it.
So that's kind of right now what we have been familiar with, and we want to learn from them and help them grow successfully. And we want to participate in any possibility that we can and have to help them grow better. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. There's 66,000 nonprofit organizations dedicated for military members. What our vision is to be able to partner up with the ones that are already existing and allow them to be better at what they do, right? Your Paws and veterans idea is just fascinating. It is something that I honestly would have not thought about having. And had I known about you guys when I first got here, I would have been like, hey, please help me out. You know what I mean?
Now you can spread the word to some other young sailor who needs help.
Exactly. So that's right now currently our starting focus. From there, we do want to do more things, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves just yet.
Yeah, I agree that when I got involved in the veterans community, I was surprised at how many organizations there are out there. And I agree with your point that coordination and synergy is where we need the most help, I think, because it's, I think of the old football game, electric football game, where you put the little men there and turn it on and they would just bump into each other and go in different directions. There's a lot of services out there, and just again, the awareness and having those services maximize efficiency is important. Have you guys ever heard of Veterans in Business?
I heard about
Uh,
that a long time ago, but not very recently.
Yeah, as far as veteran support groups that are trying to help veterans either start a business or grow a business, they're definitely the top dog. They're based in San Diego, but they have a nationwide footprint, and they hold a big conference in November every year in San Diego. And this year they're doing one on the East Coast in May. But as far as any, especially a veteran-owned business that's looking to do contracting with the government, their that's their primary focus is serving kind of as a liaison between veteran-owned businesses and the government and matchmaking, if you will.
So
Why?
yeah, and this is kind of what we're doing is what we're doing is essentially building like a resource library of everything that we do, everybody that we talk to, we categorize all this, we analyze it, and then what we do is we create these episodes, these little resource libraries for people to kind of sit down and analyze what, like, hey, what's Patriot and Paws? Like what is it going sorry, I have a fly flying around my screen. So this whole entire thing that we're building is available to people to reference to each other, say, oh, hey, yeah, you're moving here. Well, yeah, Return to Roots, we had this episode that's out there, or we also release like little shorts on media, so that way they could get kind of like the really quick what is Patriot and Pause, be like, hey, you need furniture for temporary move, or you need furniture because you're moving into LA and you don't have any furniture or anything to your name, and you're starting out, this place can help you out. Or like, hey, we found places that provide 100% financial counseling with social, step, the step program. I'm sure you've heard of that. Um, that there's so many organizations out there, but the problem is nobody really knows what they are until they hear about it. And so what we want to do is build a tribe, build a community of all these different resources, and not only getting your perspective from it, but we want to hear from people that have actually used these things and get them on there telling their side of the story as
Right.
well.
Yeah, that's something Patriots and Paws is good at. And uh, Penny get, like I mentioned, a lot of video testimonials are very powerful with people sharing how much what they've received from Patriots and Paws has really helped them. The another thing we're doing is on Sundays, we have a veterans only it's an afternoon barbecue, but it's just for guys who just want to share with other veterans, and especially those who might be suffering from PTSD or whatever issues or concerns it would be. So it's a Sunday afternoon chance to immerse oneself in nothing but other veterans, if that's something that might be helpful.
You guys have a lot of meetings there. It looks like you guys,
Well,
you guys are,
we
yeah,
just
you guys are-
started an AA. We're just hosting an AA, and that's just getting started. But yes, we do have a lot. Here's a posting on Facebook. That's just 5 hours old. Looks like it was a news story or something. But yeah, the Facebook page, Patriots and Paws, is very active, and we do a good job of using social media to spread the word and to promote the cause.
nice, nice. So lots of things going on over at Patriot and Paws, not only furniture, helping people find training, helping people find animals, and
Yeah.
with the potential of possibly in the future doing kennel work, which is going to be pretty big.
Right. I laugh when you mentioned donations because we get some crazy donations. We had like several pallets full of baby food, and it was getting close to its expiration date. So it was donated to us, and sure enough, we found several other nonprofits that had people that could use a lot of baby food. So it's kind of crazy. We've got an old helicopter. It's just the body without the rotors, but the disabled DAV, the Disabled American Veterans, take it to different organizations, but we store it in our yard. So there's a helicopter there too. If you ever come to visit, you'll see.
So what would it take for me to borrow that helicopter and take it to an event?
Well, you'd have to fight a lot of Vietnam vets to get to it. So good luck with that. So are you guys familiar with or aware that the federal government and some other governmental entities set aside certain amount of the contracts that they award for disabled veteran businesses?
Yeah, isn't it like something like, man, what was it, 25% or something like that, or 23%?
You know, I can't keep the numbers straight because they change, but the bottom line is the government, the federal government is, and also California state government are making very concerted efforts to help disabled veteran-owned businesses get government contract work. I know a lot of guys come out of the service with a disability rating. As a matter of fact, as my largest client my two largest clients are both retired Navy veterans that have a service disability rating. So they're officially qualified or certified as disabled veterans businesses. There's a formal name for it. But that gives them preference when bidding for government contracts. You know, and a lot of those, they use a point system. And if you're disabled veteran-owned, you get additional points when it comes to the contracting process.
Yeah, that's something pretty good to look in, and thanks for sharing that. And listeners out there that are thinking about starting your own business, that's something to look into, and it's also something to ask whenever you're going through TAPS, because TAPS, or what's the Marine version? What are they calling it now? Yogi, do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, so
we'll add it to the notes.
Yeah, the Marines just recently changed the thing, but as you transition these classes, there's the Boots the Business class, and that is a very good question to ask. Your Boots to Business, and I'm gonna look into it as well, and I'll contact some administrators of the class and be like, hey, what's more on this? So check the notes. We'll try to have something relating to what you just talked about.
Yeah, that's my, I feel very blessed, but also I've worked hard to be self-employed and to build a business. And it's taken a long time, but now that I've got it to the point where I want it, I wouldn't trade my lifestyle for anything. I live in Huntington Beach, 2.5 miles from the beach, and my wife is my boss, and that's supposed to be a joke. We don't have any employees. We don't want any employees. We work in a knowledge business, like an accountant or attorney who makes their business because they're experts in their field, and and it's very gratifying to have set a goal and then to achieve it, even when it's taken a lot more years than you thought or than you would have liked. but I always want to encourage anyone getting out of the service. In my opinion, self-employment is the way to go, but it's certainly not right for everybody.
You know, there's a little instability in that path at the beginning, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. And there is uncertainty and, you know, in a lot of ways, you're in the military, you're told to wear the same thing every day and to do this and do that, and it's very structured and regimented. So I guess it depends on the personality, and that's actually a big reason why I didn't stay in the Marine Corps. Is I had a problem taking orders from people I didn't respect, and you guys might have run into that once or twice. So yeah, it depends on the individual, and it's certainly not for everybody, but I love to help in any way that I can, even if that's just pointing people in the right direction.
Before we go into the end questions, is there any other advice? Because that was some pretty solid advice about the business stuff, and working for yourself and building that, you know, pretty much picturing what you want and then going after it. So what other things do you recommend?
Well, related to what I just said, I think it was Socrates that said, "Know thyself," and that's just two words, but you know, some of us, it takes a lifetime, and we're still trying to know and understand ourselves. But know yourself and accept it. If you're an individual, a maverick who wants to do everything their own way and be the boss, then yeah, maybe self-employment is the best option for you, or franchise, something like that. If you know, you'd rather just put your nose to the grindstone and follow a plan that someone else has laid out, then maybe working with the post office or the federal government or law enforcement, or there's a lot of other options out there. So as hard as it is, I think that's the most important thing is to know who you are. And one of my rule for living came from an author, Carlos Castaneda, but he said, always know what you're doing and know why you're doing it, and do it to the best of your ability. And if you can do that, you'll be in good shape.
The end questions that we have for you is, what books do you recommend people to read?
The first one that I think everyone should read, regardless of anything else, is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. You guys heard of that one?
Yes.
I sure have read it twice.
Yeah, it's the book, and it's a short book, and I think I read it every year, or I try to, and that but that narrows it down, and it's a common theme in terms of, you know, man's search for meaning. What is the meaning of life? The big question, right? And he concludes that everyone has to figure out for themselves what the meaning of their life is, and that can be a very hard thing to do. But for me, that, you know, that goes along with know what you're doing, know why you're doing it, do it to the best of your ability. And then the other book that's been the biggest impact on me personally for a number of reasons is Robert Pirsig's Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. He boils it, he tries to reduce it down to quality, one word, the essence of life, quality, and to live your life with quality. Well, what does that mean, and how do you do it? You know, you could write volumes on that topic too, but it all comes down to, again, I think it was Socrates that said that the life unexamined is not worth living. Basically, if you haven't found a purpose, then what's the point of being here? And that was part of my journey in finding a purpose to try to help veterans in any way that I can.
Well, you tied it up perfectly to our next question. If you could go back to when you had first enlisted, and I know you did reserves, but what would you tell yourself and how would you phrase it so that they could understand it?
When I first enlisted?
Or we could take it back whenever you were 18,
Yeah,
leaving high
yeah.
school.
Enlisted, that's not a good story, because I was a recruiter's dream. He came to my house on Tuesday and I enlisted on Friday. So I would have slapped my younger self and said, give it some time, think about it, and examine your options and find out what you're getting into. And I didn't do any of that. But in any case, I think that as hard as it is, the one thing I would emphasize is that you're going to have setbacks, that life isn't just a straight trajectory. I mean, even in the military, most guys who've been around 20 years got busted here and there for one thing or another. So there will be setbacks, and accept that fact, and just when you encounter them, accept them and move through it, move on as best you can, and learn from the experience.
Dude, that is some great advice right there. You are not the first one that has told us that they would slap themselves. So
Especially Marines, right?
Yeah.
I would slap Chris if I could, but it's too far back in time.
I don't have to. Sashi's gonna slap you later, man. But the last question we have for you is, how do we get a hold of you?
My business, Adams Avenue Insurance Agency. It's a long name, but if you Googled it, you would find me. And my name is also very unique, spelled Ortolf. I've never met someone with that last name who is not a member of my immediate family. There's some other Ortolfs out there, but I've never come across them. So if one just Googled my name, you'd find me, but you'd have to be able to spell my name, which is the problem.
That's pretty funny. And then what's the website? Yeah, you do have how do you pronounce your name?
The L is silent. If it were spelled Ortoff, that's how it's pronounced, Ortolf. So it's a simple pronunciation, but it has a silent L there that trips everybody up, understandably.
And then can you also give us the website of Patriot and Paws again?
Yeah, that's just all spelled out, Patriots and Paws.org. And then on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Patriots and Paws. And like I say, Penny does a good job of using social media and keeping active and dynamic. And we're also in the process of revamping our websites. So in a few weeks, we'll have completely revamped websites.
Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this wonderful movement.
Well, it's my privilege, and thank you guys for your service. It isn't easy, but and I don't think we can ever certainly empty platitudes like "thank you for your service." I don't have any tattoos. I don't wear hats or shirts that say Marine Corps. I don't want anyone to thank me for anything, because I didn't do anything compared to those guys who were in combat and made the ultimate sacrifice. So I just think that this country really could never pay or thank or honor its veterans enough. So I just want to do whatever I can to help a lot of veterans and help improve their lives any way possible.
Hey, Dave, I don't want you to minimize your service to our country, because what you did for us was you blazed a path, and you blazed a path for a lot of the Marines before you in your unit. Like you said at the beginning of the show, you're like, I was just 20 years too late. And what I want to relate to you, man, is actually like, hey, this is not an empty platitude. Honestly, thank you for being a path blazer, because what you did, and I'm pretty sure that you were part of a change of improvement in different tactics, and people learned different things during all those training events that you did, and it was passed down through your unit. Guaranteed that happened. So
Yeah.
whether you were on the front or 20 years before that, serving during the Cold War, when many people were afraid to serve, you were there serving, and you were there as an amplifying force. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I appreciate that. It was the transition from Carter to Reagan, which was very interesting, and there certainly was a resurgence in patriotism and admiration for our service members in the 80s when Reagan came along.
So any save rounds or alibis from any of you guys?
Save rounds,
Yeah, or alibis.
alibis, never admit guilt. That's the O.J. Simpson rule. No matter what you do, never admit guilt.
And drive real fast in your Bronco.
Funny story.
Jeez.
I lived in Anaheim when that happened, and the freeway went by my neighborhood, and I saw the helicopters, the line of helicopters who were following the white Bronco, and we could see down at the end of the street the white Bronco and all the police cars go by. So that was my brush with OJ.
That is insane. That's so crazy.
Well, here's another even better. I grew up in Buffalo, New York in the 70s, and he played for the Bills, and he's one of the greatest running backs ever. But he was the biggest fish in a small pond in Buffalo. So I'd always had kind of a connection or an affinity for him until I found out that he's a murderer. That kind of put a damper on things.
Just a slight damper. And he probably should have had a profession in NASCAR or monster truck driving.
Yeah.
So everybody else that's listening, hey, thanks for listening on here. You're gonna have to take a look at our notes. We're gonna have a whole ton of links in here. If you didn't catch the audio, you could always rewind it or go to the show notes. So thank you for listening, and not everything is unicorns and rainbows, guys. Take care.
All right. Thank you, folks. Good luck, guys. And if I can help with anything in any way, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, brother. Thank you.
Semper Fi.
Do us a solid. Share this content with everyone you know, regardless if they're associated with the military or not. This content will help someone you know, and hopefully will lessen the deadly gap after service. Our goal is to do whatever we can to reduce the number of suicides from 22 to 0 within the community. Give us a 5-star review, follow, like, and subscribe. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, and you can follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram for more content from our guests. These are our personal experiences, and we do not represent the views of the United States Navy and/or the Department of Defense. Your transition is ultimately up to you. Please do your research and ask questions. Use Master Chief Google or ask a friend and network within the community that you belong to. Return to Roots out.